Good day and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be on the ships themselves. I've already covered the basics on everything from a higher up point of view. I've discussed building ships and getting blueprints. Now I'm actually going to discuss the ships in particular. How to select your ship in Eve Echoes. So the first thing you want to know about your ships is the attributes. Sorry about the time it's taking to load. Sometimes the game does this to me. Okay, now the first thing you're going to do is check your attributes on your ship. And how you're going to do this is simple. One second, just collect my dailies. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is open your inventory. Alright, now I've got all my ships here, so let's open the item hanger. No, okay, let's go to the ship itself. Ship hanger, sorry. Getting a little bit confused. Now let's go with the Concord, one of the first few vessels that anyone can get. It's in the frigate class. Now let's say how you are going to choose your vessel. Right. Capacitor needed, 80% less for stasis weather fire. Small missiles and torpedo damage. And here's what you're really going to look at. Your basic info. Overall defense, flight velocity, warp speed, power output, capacitors, and cargo hold capacity. This all determines how you are going to play. If you have a massive amount of overall defense, that means you are going to tank. You are going to be right in front. That means you are going to run the closest range and the heaviest hitting weapons possible for your team. You're also going to run the debuff skills, that stasis weather fire, and your NOS, your energy draining NOS battery. So that is going to be your basics if you have a high amount of overall defense. The next thing to look at is your overall velocity. If you have a very fast ship, if your ship is exceeding in speed and you are capable of evading fire, then your job is most likely to stay at a little bit of a distance and fire on the enemy. Example, if I have a Concord and I have a MK5 weapon, my choice of action is going to be to actually sit a little bit back, about 15 to 20 kilometers away from the anomalies, and fire. If you are using medium class, obviously it's going to be almost 30 kilometers. And in 30 kilometers, when you're firing in, if you have enough velocity, they're not going to hit you. And if you run something like a hardened shield, the impacts that you take will be reduced even more. And if you have someone running in the front with something like stasis weather fire, immediately once they web an enemy, you're capable of hitting them even harder. Right, so then let's go down. Shield resistance. This shows what your shields are resistant to. Energy weapons, um, fire weapons, direct damage, and the other was projectile damage, if I'm correct. I'm not exactly sure on the names of each of those resistances still. But basically, how it goes is if you have a good amount of resistance against energy weapons, you are going to hold your ship against laser beams. So that's where you're going to have your best output, and that's where you're going to have your best type of battle play. The next thing to notice is what type of weapons you are running on your ship. As I said, every single class has its close range and distance fighting weapon. So for example, I like running missiles. So I'm going to run standard missile launches, and I'm going to run um, a capacitive shield, and I'm also going to run a Nostro, whatever that energy drain battery is called. Now what that allows me to do is it allows me to get close into the enemy. It allows me to close the distance very fast, and once they are webified, their hardened shields take more damage. That means that once you slow a vessel down enough, they take more damage. That means if you are fighting a very difficult opponent and you're in a fleet of 10, having two people web a vessel renders their defenses very low. That means they take excess damage. If you hit the shield where you're normally dropping 20% of the shield, you're now dropping 30% of the shield. That's because you've slowed it down once. And if you slow it down twice, What was 30 will now become 40. Obviously, it doesn't mean that you stack two of any one component on a ship, because if you go into your items, as I'm going to show, you will notice that all of your defensive items, one second, as you can see, I've got a ton of gear and loot. Right, here's it. If you go into it and you read at the bottom, you will find that it tells you, note, ineffective against target to scope. No, wait, sorry. Uh, Somewhere here it has a note about. Okay, wait, no, these ones don't have it. So it looks like you can use the debuffs in multiple. If I'm correct, it's the shields only. Yes. I know that they've said it somewhere on this. If you stack two or more, they lose their effectiveness. Wait 1 second, let me go directly onto my caracal. Okay, let me just go open this fittings. Restriction, only one of this module type can be activated at a time. Right, so that means if you put two on a ship, it doesn't give you more. It actually penalties you for adding a double. You will get 25% less of each one, and it will increase your power usage, if I'm correct. My percentages might be off a little bit, but overall, it brings down your effectiveness against enemies. And in terms of battle, that's not what you want. And example, if you're running a shield booster or a shield healing, even though you have double shield healing, you're finishing energy faster, you're taking more damage. Not taking more damage, you're taking damage far faster, and you're losing capacitance way faster than normal. That means it's almost impossible for you to stay immune throughout the battle. As you can see, my situation is a hardening shield, a shield, and a booster. I'm actually thinking of changing the booster to a shield extender. Now, the whole idea behind that is I've got an excess shield, I've got a chance to regrow my shield, and I have a chance to take more damage on that excess shield. That means when my resistance goes very low, I can quickly pop the extended shield, give my capacitor some time to recharge, and go at it again. Okay, the next thing to note on all of this will be your overall DPS. Now, when it comes to dealing DPS, you need to know where you're dealing your best DPS. Following the DPS on the ships doesn't work out correctly, because per hit I'm getting 480, 450, 560, and it's once every 10 seconds. And that makes it 50 DPS per each weapon. I've got 4, that makes it 200 DPS per second. But when it's showing me on my ship's overall percentage, it's showing me 110. That means that somewhere along the line, I am not understanding how this damage is being reduced and portrayed forward. And in the same way, I believe it is going to be for most people. Right, now the next thing you should know is where you are heading with your ships. Are you going to be gearing more for fighting players? Are you going to be gearing more for fighting anomalies? If your main objective is anomalies, you are going to run with the PvE setup. You are not going to use warp disruptors. Warp disruptors stop enemies from warping. Obviously, that doesn't work well against your PvE enemies because they don't warp away. When you're fighting them, they stay in one area and they bombard you, even if you're coming with a massive fleet. So the whole idea with your PvE is to fight in one area without having to have to run away. Okay, next thing to note on the ships. Your class of ship, as I said, you must choose your aspect on it carefully. This is the caracal. You can see overall defense is high. That's how come I'm running so much of power on the defense, because it has a massive resistance. The one thing it doesn't do well against is electric type weapons. That means, if I am correct, it's disruptors. In terms of flight velocity, this isn't a very fast vessel. That means the fact that I'm running an afterburner isn't really benefiting it. I could have done a lot better with using, for example, the shield extender. It will give me a longer range on fighting time. Its capacitor, its power output, everything is fantastic. Its cargo hold is, like I said, large. It's good for running looting parties or collecting loot. And the fastest way to collect loot is to kill an enemy very quickly, and on the last one, if it is possible, unlock your target and start picking up loot. When you're in a fleet, the best way is to either set aside 2 people on each round to collect the loot, or to have one person dedicated to picking up all the loot in each round. In 10 runs on T5 anomalies, that will take you about 20 minutes if you have a full fleet, and that will be 10 runs, 2 minutes an anomaly. That's a large anomaly, and if you can do that, overall you are going to make a profit of about $1 million every 20 minutes, and you are going to be able to loot a full loot package in less than 20 minutes. That's going to get you up to your next stage where you are ready to go and fight something bigger. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing to think about when it comes to ships. When it comes to ships, the next thing that you have to think about is your progression. Yesterday I showed where you find your blueprints. So now let's go into manufacturing. You need to think of where you're going with your ships. What is your next ship going to be? Because it's not always going to be on the market, whichever ship or vessel you're looking for. So right now I have a cruiser. I'm happy with my cruiser. I know that I don't want a T6 cruiser. I know when it comes to T7, I want a battleship. A battle cruiser, sorry. So the first thing I do is I'm going to open my page. I am going to check what my different versions of battleships are. Holding on your display shows you what it is. Medium range, railgun. This isn't exactly what I would want. So I'm not even going to look at it any further. Okay, so then I go back. Let's go to the next one, the Cyclone. Missile torpedo launchers, command burst module slots. Okay, this is perfect for me. It has more weapon capacity, more everything when it comes to my torpedoes, plus shield booster amount. Overall defense is nice and high. Flight velocity is nice and low. Warp speed is regular for any vessel. And power output is pretty regular. Capacitor is good. Okay, let's see its defenses. It's a little bit weaker than most. Let's see if we can find something better. Okay, so we know now that I'm a missile launcher expert when it comes to what I'm choosing. I am going to go after a missile class vessel. Okay, let's look at the ending range. Generally, they're the best ships. So let's see. Drone control, command burst. This is mainly a drone ship. Running big drones on the ship is going to be fantastic for you. Okay, next one. Laser. I don't think there's going to be a bet. Prophecy. Okay, so the perfect ship for me will be a Cyclone. So when it comes to the Cyclone, now I need to think about getting the materials. Okay, so I need a Cyclone blueprint. Let's see what planetary materials I'm going to need. Right now, since I am at T5, I can start farming for this now, easily. And have everything stored up. It costs 25 million ISK to build. That means if I can get to that range fast enough and without too much of a problem, I am actually going to be in the perfect range to get what I want. Now let's see the... Oh wait, sorry, I went to the wrong one. Battle Cruiser Blueprints. Cyclone, I know that's what I'm going to be looking for. Now what do I need? Level 7 Minotaur ship debris. Going after T7s, I know that I'm going after Minotaur so that I can get the right ship debris. I know which data cores I'm looking for. The one thing you can do is buy data cores ahead of people reaching T7. That means that you will have a stockpile ready and you will be able to go at your blueprint production. Remember, the higher your research on the blueprints, the easier it is to produce it. And one last thing, make sure that your countdown never reaches 0. If you reach 0, that means that you have lost time and you have lost effectiveness. As you can see, I've been upgrading things in random places, but right now what needs it most is weapon technology for me. So I'm going to go straight into my missiles. My smalls no longer so needed. So I'm going to go at it again. And I'm going to put a 20 hour up on the level 4. And I'm going to put the level 5 behind it. That means right now, everything on my list is going to upgrade in order. I'm going to have a command for my cruiser at level 5. I'm going to have my medium missiles up, and that is the basics on how you make sure you are always training. Your SP gain, remember that your Omega and your neurochips make a big difference. At the price that they are, 10 million ISK and 30 million ISK, they are absolutely worth it, because 5 equals to thousands a day, and thousands a day make a difference to a million. I have 160 hours. If I added another 5 to this, then 160 hours will drop down. That will mean that I have gone from a week to less than a week in an instant for just 30 million ISK. If I had a full level Omega, this ISK level would most probably be somewhere near 80. That means I dropped from a full week to 3 days and a few hours. So that will be it for this video. It's a little bit longer than normal. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, or message me down below. Or leave a comment down below, sorry. Thank you.